Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Detox Digest with Dr. Morse's Healing Herbs.
Yes, welcome. Whether you are a seasoned detox enthusiast just starting your wellness journey or anywhere in between, Detox Digest is your go-to resource for gathering the knowledge and tools to support your body's natural healing and cleansing processes using diet herbs and Dr. Morse's formulas. I'm Colleen Bingham.
And I'm Jenn Bingham, and so far this year we've covered the urinary system, the immune and lymphatic systems, digestive system, and endocrine systems. And to get all of those archived blogs and webinar recordings on those body systems, you can visit our Body Systems Blogs tab under the Learn tab at drmorses.com. So today we're going to continue our discussion on whole body detoxification with a deep dive into the nervous system.
Yeah, so grab your favorite herbal tea and let's begin. Stay tuned for valuable insights into the nervous system, including memory and cognitive function, mental health, eye health, and how to best support this system for vibrant well-being. I'm gonna drop my boom a little bit. Can't even
It's
see
very
my
stiff,
computer.
stubborn.
Okay. All right, so of course we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for this man. This is Dr. Morse, whose life work it is to unlock the body's natural ability to heal by supporting its regenerative and detoxification processes. Dr. Morse has been doing this for over 45 years. Jen's been a consultant here for the last 10. We really have just seen incredible things happen with plants and the protocols that we're about to discuss with you today. So get ready for a really exciting day with us here. And we are open to receiving your questions. We probably won't have time for a Q&A at the end. We just pack in so much to these webinars, but we do have Stephanie and Kim here who are incredible and a wealth of knowledge on their own. And so they will be tackling your questions as they come in. Look for the little Q&A bubble and you can click that and type your question in there. And if we do not get to your question, you can always email us at info@dmhhc.com and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Also, of course, as with every webinar, hopefully you've been with us for a while now, you know that there's a juicy discount code at the end. So please stay till the end so that you can get your discount code on all of the formulas that we're talking about here today.
And what are we going to be talking about today? Well, this is the agenda. We have our nervous system anatomy and physiology, where we're just going to review the component parts of the nervous system and the different branches of the nervous system. And then also we'll review, like we always do, some important protocols for neurological health using Dr. Morse's formulas. And Colleen will take us through a virtual herb walk pertaining to the nervous system, right along with those protocols. And then we have some simple additional therapeutics. Hopefully we'll have time to really dive into the flower essences and that just connect the rest and digest and neurolymphatic massage points as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's try to get to it all.
Yes. All right, let's go.
All right. So welcome you all to the nervous system. This is that moment we take that deep breath right before we dive into the anatomy and physiology. So why the nervous system? Why now? Well, we do organize these webinars so that they go along with the body systems that we tend to tackle. First and foremost, we started with the kidney and bladder, then we went to the lymphatic system, we visited the digestion, the endocrine, and now we're here at the nervous system. We'll see a lot of crossover today with the endocrine system and the nervous system. And today is very close to the solstice. Happy summer solstice to all of you. And as you probably are feeling, it is that exuberant, extroverted time of the year. It is yang energy as opposed to winter, which is very yin, very withdrawn, very introverted. Now we're just sending that energy out into the world. We're trying to create new things in the world, getting our projects going, and all that external energy can be very depleting to the nervous system. Of course, it's a hot time of year. We're sweating more. We're more dehydrated, right? This is all kind of sounding familiar. And not only that, but we're at the height of multitasking. So I just wonder how many of you out there are currently multitasking while we are doing this webinar. And hey, no judgment. I cannot do that because that would be impossible, but I get it. I do, though, challenge you to take a beat while you're here. You made it. Thank you for joining us with how crazy your life probably is right now. Thank you for sitting with us for the next hour while we talk about how to support this incredible system that is connected to every single millicentimeter of your body, every single little tiny bit of your body, every cell of your body. So yes, see if you can drop into the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest while you're watching this presentation. Just allow yourself to feel. Take a moment right now to take a deep breath, right? And just use that brain that you have in your head to connect to every single cell in your body and find out how you're feeling. And how you know this, how you know how you're feeling right now is because of the incredible interconnectedness of the nervous system. You're feeling hunger pains, maybe a little bit bloated after lunch, some palpitations, some soreness. This is all your nervous system attached to your organs telling you what's going on. The brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons. Just think about that. Think about that in comparison to the infinite universe. Like, we really do have this universe inside ourselves. It's pretty incredible. And we're sending these signals that are telling us how we're doing. They're nerve impulses that are communicating from our body to our brain and our brain back to our body, and they're traveling at speeds of around 250 miles per hour, which is why the moment you feel something like too hot or too cold, it's instantly transmitted to your brain. 250 miles per hour. That is just so incredible. And not only that, but there's electrical to chemical synapses in between each neuron within that communication system. So it's traveling at a super fast speed and converting from chemical to electrical thousands of times in the process of sending your brain that signal for how you're feeling. It's just incredible and totally mind-blowing. And just like a real quick relaxation hack, the vagus nerve is the largest nerve cord in your body. It runs from the brain all the way down towards the abdomen, and it connects your brain to all of your major organs, including the heart, the lung, the stomach, the liver, the spleen, the pancreas, the small intestines, and the kidneys. And mint family member herbs, spearmint, peppermint, lavender, lemon balm. There's a lot of great research showing that just drinking those as a tea, just smelling those herbs is really good for calming the vagus nerve, relaxing that nerve. So imagine that relaxation, just pouring that tea into your body, relaxing that nerve that's connected to all those vital organs is just a really quick hack for getting yourself out of stress and into rest and digest. Jen?
Yes. All right, guys. And one thing I don't know, I like to reevaluate and contemplate where I'm at on a regular basis because things can change. Life happens. We all know
Mm-hmm.
that. So, and with it being summer, like Colleen said, everything is shifted. We're more extroverted, and we're almost halfway through the year, as much as I can't believe it sometimes. This is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I probably say this every webinar, but really take a look now, halfway through the year, in the middle of summer, when you have time to be outside and really enjoy yourself, socialize, you have access to more fresh fruits and vegetables, hopefully, some awesome ones where you're at least in this northern
Mm-hmm.
hemisphere, I would hope. Where is your mind at? Where are your intentions at? How have you progressed with your goals so far? Do you need to change them? Do you need to reinvigorate yourself a little bit, reinvigorate your commitment? Some people see the summer as, all right, this is time to intensify my cleanse. And others, nope, this is a time for a break. This is a time to party, to vacation. And really,
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about mental health a little bit later in this webinar too, but whether it is for cleansing or even just socializing and doing something that's personally very important to you, again, that's that commitment level that we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about. You want to make sure that you are committed to yourself and your health and what you are doing, whatever that means for the summer, and the nervous system reaches every part of that. So we're going to really explore the sensory components, your mental health, your cognitive and memory. So I hope you really enjoy this as we dive into it, a little bit of the A and P, and then spend time on protocols and herbs and how you can include them as part of your daily routine or your deep detox.
Yes, awesome. All right, well, let's jump in.
Yeah, let's dive into the nervous system function. We've got some A and P, and I guess, Colleen, you're going to go into those divisions of the nervous system. We kind of talked about this next slide in the endocrine system a little bit, I believe,
We
if I
did.
remember
Yes, we
correctly.
definitely did. They are so interconnected, there's no way to not talk about it with the endocrine system. We talked about suppression of the nervous system, and we will talk about it again today. So these are the divisions of the nervous system. You have the central nervous system, the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, everything else. So all the neurons that are just traveling throughout your entire body, signaling back and forth to the brain. And so that's really where we're going to target our focus. We're going to break that down even further. There's your autonomic nervous system and your somatic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is your involuntary. So that's kind of the things that you don't have to think about. They just happen. Breathing, your heart beating. That's the super obvious ones. And there's so many more. And then your somatic nervous system, this is voluntary. This is sensory input, motor output. But we're going to come back over to here to your autonomic nervous system, and we're going to break this kind of auto drive, autopilot, involuntary nervous system into its component parts, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic is your fight or flight, parasympathetic is your rest and digest. So we're going to look a little bit more at both of those right now. Okay, so pretty straightforward. The peripheral nervous system, the somatic nervous system is your voluntary. So this rules skeletal muscle movement, and nervous system facilitates the bidirectional communication between the central nervous system and the muscles and sensory receptors. So this conveys sensory information from the body to the brain for processing, and then transmits motor commands from the brain to the muscles. You tell your body what to do, and your body does it, okay? Hopefully things are going well in that arena, but also this can be dysregulated as well. But we're, again, going to mostly focus on your autonomic nervous system. I keep putting the bear analogy in here because they're probably the most terrifying animal on earth to me. You probably have yours too, but the bear is mine. They're very cool from a distance. Obviously, we need them. Okay, so this is your autonomic nervous system. We've talked about this before. This is, you're either triggered by fight or flight, by some stressor in your life, which is triggering a whole response in the body. Your eyes dilate and you start to sweat. And what you're doing is you're reserving all of the energy in your body to running away from the threat. That is your sympathetic nervous system. That is fight or flight. It's a response that's totally normal in stressful situations. Then you've got your parasympathetic nervous system, which means alongside or along with the nervous system comes this very important downregulation or calming, restful, digesting phase. And ideally, you're kind of spending your day in rest and digest. You're kind of taking your time, you're feeling mellow. And then, if a stressor happens, I mean, granted, we all drive in cars. I think that's one of the biggest ones to trigger the sympathetic nervous system. It's
Yes.
like, it's easy to slip into fight or flight when you're driving, 80 miles per hour down a highway with a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing. So, so I think we're triggered a lot more than we used to be in our fight or flight, especially if we commute for work, things like that. But yeah, kind of the goal here today is to get you into that rest and digest state. We're going to talk about how the herbs and the protocols can help support you doing that, and kind of where things can go out of balance.
Yes, and Colleen mentioned a little bit ago that there are about 86 billion neurons. I can't even contemplate that number in the human brain. About 100 billion make up the entire nervous system, which is
So
that's
insane.
just using your mind to comprehend something that's making up your mind. It's just Anyway, so in comparison, the Milky Way, I think it was estimated about 200 to 400 billion stars are in the Milky Way, and you've got 100 billion in your nervous system individually. You sitting there watching this. Yeah, it's pretty darn neat. So I almost did a slip up. Anyway. Pardon me. Yes, I am. This is exciting. So, caught myself. We're going to do a little anatomy and physiology review here. We're not going to go too detailed because, again, we got a lot we want to get over. So, on the screen, you're going to see the anatomy of a nerve, the neuron structure. And the basic building block of a nerve is responsible for transmitting signals. The neurons have a cell body, dendrites, which are those little receiving branches up there, and an axon that's a long fiber transmitting the signal. And the axon, again, long, slender extension of a neuron that carries these electrical impulses away from the cell body. Myelin sheath, you've heard Dr. Morse talk about this a lot. And that's the protective covering surrounding the axon that's formed by specialized cells called Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system. This myelin sheath is an insulator and facilitates that rapid conduction of nerve impulses. So you can see how that's important. If those are damaged in any way, that that can certainly disrupt the messages, that conduction process. And then the nodes of Ranvier, you can see those up there too on the image. Gaps, they're gaps or spaces basically breaking up the segments of the myelin sheath along the axon, and they allow for the conduction. That's where the electrical impulses jump from one node to another, and that increases the speed of signal transmission. And you've got an axon terminal that contains various neurotransmitters that are all released at the small gap between two communicating neurons, and that is a synapse. Multiple would be synapses, and that's where we're talking about here. These nerve endings transmit signals to other neurons, muscles, organs, glands, and that allows for communication and coordination within the body. So that's the anatomy. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the physiology. So just recall the neurons. Yep, they're your basic building block of a nerve. They're transmitting the signals. So the first of all, the transmission of electrical signals has to happen. They're nerve impulses or action potentials. We're going to talk about this a little bit more on the next slide. And then secondary is you have that neurotransmitter release, and we're going to talk about this in 2 more slides, and some of those really important neurotransmitters that you see listed here on the screen that are on that chemical side. So we have an image here on the next screen that talks about a little more about the nerve physiology.
Okay.
Nope, you're working great. Yeah. So this just really zooms in on the synapses between the neurons, and we can't, time constraints, we don't want to go into too much crazy detail, but the transmission of a signal between these neurons is generally carried by the neurotransmitter. That's the chemical portion of this. The transmission of a signal within a neuron from that dendrite to the axon terminal is, carried by a brief reversal of the resting membrane potential called an action potential. And Colleen will probably show you here with her pointer, these little vesicles, these little packages or sacs contain these neurotransmitters that pass through the axon terminals and transmit via the synapses, and they're taken up again in this reversal. And that's pretty much a very, very brief and vague summary of this entire process. And on the next slide, some of these important, this is probably something you're going to want to screenshot here too. These are 8 very important neurotransmitters, so take a screenshot if you'd like. But the total number of transmitters, it really isn't known. There's well over 100. And you can see, as Colleen was talking about, the adrenaline. You have the fight or flight. You have GABA, which is calming, noradrenaline for concentration. Dopamine is for pleasure. That's what is released. You're prompted to go after more of those activities, the more pleasurable it is. Serotonin, too much, too little, that's what really affects your moods. The endorphin for euphoria. So again, take a screenshot, study these a little more, really enjoy them to help understand, some of your body's processes and how it is impacting your cleanse and even your maintenance routine, because we'll get into that a little bit too. But this is partly what makes the endocrine and nervous system so fascinating, I think.
It's so cool. And there's definitely a lot of great studies coming out more and more every day about how a lot of our herbs are mimicking these same neurotransmitters and ending up, filling in those receptor sites so that when we're potentially low in these, the herbs can help to kind of support those particular neurotransmitters. So it's really cool if you go and research specific neurotransmitter relationships with herbs. It's definitely a rabbit hole worth going down.
Absolutely, not synthetic or anything. It's really cool. Hopefully y'all have fun diving into it.
Yeah. Yeah, neurotransmission is super cool. So putting it all together, here we have, just it's as you would imagine, and as we've kind of been talking about since we started talking today, is how the nervous system, as you can see, these tendrils are just going to every single part of your body, and they're connecting to all of your body systems. They are the feels. This is how we know whether we're feeling well, is really the nervous system kind of sending us information from these different body systems. And of course, the nervous system is controlling a lot of what's happening in our body. So as far as the lymphatic system, the nerve impulses stimulate the contraction of the lymphatic vessels, aiding in the movement of lymph fluid and facilitating in the removal of toxins. Pretty important, right? So the nervous system, lymphatic system connection is a big one. Okay, so also the nervous system controls the contraction and relaxation of the bladder, and it also regulates the production of ADH, which affects the reabsorption of water and concentration of urine. Nerve signals regulate the expansion and contraction of the diaphragm and other respiratory muscles, and also controls the peristaltic movement of the gastrointestinal tract. We've talked about that one many times before. It's that gentle undulation of the small intestine that moves your food boluses through the digestive tract. And so again, we've talked about this last month, but if you missed it, so here's where things go wrong, right? Chronic fight or flight. So this is also that connection between the endocrine system and the nervous system. You've got chronic fight or flight. Every time you're in fight or flight, you're releasing cortisol from the adrenal glands, and that is the stress hormone, and it ends up in your bloodstream. And every time your brain and your nervous system see that there's cortisol in the blood, they suppress certain body systems. The immune system and the digestive system are suppressed, the heart speeds up, and the bladder constricts. So if you're in chronic fight or flight, if you're kind of always in that state of feeling, kind of irritable and easily set off, and your heart is kind of always pumping, and what's going to happen long term is you're going to see immune insufficiency, you're going to see digestive distress, and you're going to see urinary imbalances. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So it really is all about re-regulating the nervous system and finding your path back to rest and digest. Okay, that's just number one. So we'll try to get you there today.
Yes.
What do you say, Jen?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So now that's it for A&P. It's a pretty straightforward system. I love just seeing how our nervous system sends electrical and chemical signals to send these messages everywhere in the body. I find that fascinating. We're just on a minute scale, on this microscopic level. We are just such fascinating beings. And now we're going to talk about how to support the nervous system with all of our different protocols. So we're going to start with our general maintenance protocol, just like we do every month. Take it away, Jen.
Yep, just a good way to get started, and something we both mentioned earlier in the webinar. Good time to reevaluate your commitment to your health if you're, again, getting started, or this is something I haven't mentioned before, when you're going to take a break, maybe. You could work with a general maintenance protocol of some kind. And if your nervous system is, after some period of detoxification, still needs some assistance, like Colleen mentioned, maybe a chronic fight or flight, maybe you have still some memory or cognitive things that you want to improve on, you could pulse, as we would say, your herbs by taking them just 3 to 4 times a week. You don't have to, maybe twice a day instead of 3. You don't have to take them every day. So even if you're just getting started and you want to start off a little bit more slowly, really just use your own inner guidance to help you determine that. So remember, always eat the foods that your body can easily use, fresh fruits and veggies. You still want to always have a protocol that supports your eliminative systems in some way, the kidneys, the GI tract, skin, lungs, and of course you want to move your lymph. And then always, as you saw with anatomy and physiology, you want to support the endocrine and nervous systems as well. So when we look at a protocol, and we don't have to hit all of these eliminative systems at one time, but of course, the daily formulas are a great way to start. GI daily, the kidneys and bladder daily, lymph drainage daily, and also the endocrine daily. Alternative to endocrine could be the adrenal support. But of course, since we're talking about the nervous system, include the brain and nervous systems formula to, really, again, as Colleen demonstrated in that one image, the nervous system connects to all parts of the body system, and this every body of the body. Geez. Getting my thoughts tied in my head. Should have taken brain and nerve before this. So all parts of the body system communicate with one another, from your emotions to sensory experiences, memory, cognitive, your movement, your sleep, your perception. So consider adding that into your, general maintenance for your nervous system, or any protocol even, and to support the rest and digest response that involves the parasympathetic nervous system. We've included the stomach tea as well. So let's see. Yeah, because I know you want to talk about some herbs too, but yeah, I don't think I've ever heard a bad thing about the brain and nervous systems formula. It's awesome.
It's a great one. It's one of our most popular products. Yeah.
Yes.
It's
recent.
Worth taking if you haven't tried it yet. It's newer.
Well, we used to have 2. We had a brain and nervous systems 1 and a brain and nervous systems 2. And Dr. Morse years ago just combined them into one formula.
One super formula.
Nice. Yeah, one super formula. Yep. So that's how we ended up with this one. Yep. So it's
we're going to meet 2 of the primary herbs in this formula right now. This is Gotu Kola is the the most prominent herb in our brain and nervous system formula, along with ginkgo, which we're going to meet in a little while when we're talking about specific mental clarity. But gotu kola is just a wonderful, it's becoming more and more classified as an adaptogen herb. It does contain some saponins. As you know, I love talking about saponins, and they're mildly irritating, right? Which causes a change. And so they can really kind of subtly help move and shift things internally. But also there's just a lot of really great research going into gotu kola more and more every day. Of course, it's got a big history of use with both traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, where it's considered the elixir of life and known for its mental rejuvenator and tonic properties. And then new studies are showing how it supports memory, intellect, and it is also neuroprotective, okay? So it's just really a wonderful tonic herb that you can take every day and really just help support and protect the brain. And it's in brain and nervous systems, happy caps, and ultimate immune. If you're ever in a tropical region that has gotu kola growing like wild, it's just runs by kind of runners, it's like an ivy almost. I just highly suggest you seek out the fresh juice of gotu kola because it is delicious and really also incredible for hair, skin, and nails. There's a whole other conversation we could be having about skin and connective tissue support. It's a connective tissue tonic, so it's really good at just helping to strengthen the integrity of all of the tissues of the body, which we are constantly working with from a detox standpoint, right? We want all of the tissues of the body, all those channels of elimination to be in good working order, and gotu kola is just one of the best for that. And of course, eleuthero we talked about last month. I misspoke actually. I said that last month how this is Siberian ginseng and it was misclassified and that it's not in the same family as ginseng, but it actually is in the same family as ginseng. It's just a completely different plant. They're both in the Aureliaceae family, and they have similar mechanisms of action. However, it is not a ginseng. So eleuthero is amazing. It's the root that we use. It's in so many of Dr. Morse's formulas. He loves eleuthero. I do too. As we talked about last month, it's heavily was researched back in the 1970s in the Soviet Union. And so by the time of around 1976, about 3 million people in Russia were using eleuthero every day or regularly. It's good for the young and the old. It's kind of I was actually just researching, it's not actually safe during pregnancy, but lots of things aren't, but it promotes natural energy, and it's not overly stimulating, but some people use it as kind of a midday pick-me-up. It shouldn't affect sleep patterns at all. It's just one of those that kind of builds up resiliency over time. If you're interested in learning more about adaptogens, go back and watch our recording of last month's Detox Digest with the endocrine system, and we really do the deep dive into why adaptogens are so important for getting you back to healthy stress response.
Yes.
Okay. So general maintenance, moving on to memory and cognitive function, super important.
Yes. Yes. All right. So healthy memory. Okay. So we always hear about, these mental daily exercises to keep your mind sharp. And yes, that is important. But you also need to, consider what you're putting into your body. And you need to make sure you have, a diet of whole foods, not processed acid forming foods. Real strong supportive brain foods that support a good, healthy nervous system response. And we're not going to talk about diet a lot in this part of the webinar because I think we've, made that pretty clear, but just to reinforce that you have some of your builders versus your cleansers. And for many people, many of us, me included, we are working to cleanse periodically through the year. That's why summer, think about your intentions, because this may be a time to just continue building and working on creating that environment for healthy cell and healthy nerve regeneration. So that's why we emphasize fruits and raw veggies over more of the building nuts, seeds, alkaline grains, and whatnot. Those are your great builders. That's a good time when you're taking a break, maybe with a general maintenance protocol. But if you really have some cognitive function issues, then we'll get to that protocol that you can work on to help improve blood flow, lymph flow, drain the brain, also just help repair and regenerate nerves throughout the body, and really create that environment for cells to regenerate. So, but in the meantime, get enough sleep. Definitely engage in social activities or individual activities that boost your mood, and really try to de-stress. and like don't go running
Mhm.
through an airport and try to hopefully de-stress. And take some herbs regularly, especially the brain and nervous systems. But if you wanted to add in anything else, you could work with oh, sorry, next slide. My apologies. The kidneys and
Okay.
bladder
Yep.
restore. This is a good one because it's suggested. It's a restorative formula, aptly named, and it's a good filtration enhancer for the kidneys. The daily is a good way to just start working on moving the lymph. But if you are a seasoned detoxification enthusiast, you are welcome to work with a stronger lymphatic drainage formula. Just remember, moderate mover or super mover. Only do those a month at a time, and alternate with a daily or gentle in between. And again, brain and nervous systems is recommended. It's a great tonic memory booster. It supports those functions of neurons and new connections that are formed when you exercise your mind, and that will promote that strong and healthy memory and cognitive function. Kind of like if you don't use it, you lose it. You need these neurons and synapses stay strong as long as you're using them. So make sure you're keeping your mind active and engaged in positive things, of course. Blood circulation formula is also recommended because good memory and cognitive function also depend on a healthy blood supply to the brain. And this formula also contains neurotropic herbs for nervous system support. So, and again, prolonged exposure to chronic unhealthy inflammatory levels leaves these tissues and nerves very vulnerable to, damage or, disruption in their function. So the memory and cognitive decline can occur the longer these tissues and blood and lymph
Mm.
vessels are impacted by the effects of acidosis. So this is where healthy joints comes in, because it does strengthen the body's tissues and supports that healthy inflammatory response that's part of overall health and detoxification. And that just rounds out a very supportive memory and cognitive function protocol. Of course, if you have other health issues you
Mhm.
want to address, you could develop this further, but to get you started, this is a great way to just jump into it.
Yeah, this is really what Dr. Morse talks about with draining the brain. We're really trying to open up all those channels, moving the lymph, making sure the kidneys are online, and then using that healthy joints with the turmeric to kind of open up all these kind of potentially, well, to support healthy inflammatory levels so that things aren't bogged up, so that things are opening up, and that you can really just drain everything out of the head. There's some other great lymphatic massage that you can do to promote draining the brain. And then I love the circulation piece where we're trying to bring more blood into the brain to allow us to have more attention, focus, memory, and function. So we're
Yes.
going to look specifically at ginkgo right now, which is just one of our best blood circulation tonic herbs out there with tons and tons of research, probably because it's so well known and originally, grown and native to China, where traditional Chinese medicine and where kind of current science is funded in order to research these herbs. And so ginkgo has just really shown to support improved blood circulation to the brain and the functioning of the brain, the eyes, the ears, the legs, reduction of occasional stress, improved memory, attention and speed of thinking. I know some people use it for ringing in the ears. It's just really moving blood. It's very good at kind of opening up the channels, getting blood to the brain. And another really important one is with cognition, especially age-related cognitive decline. So you know what I'm talking about here. I can't say any specific words, but you know what I mean. So ginkgo is a really good preventative for keeping you sharp, especially as you get older, keeping you mentally aware and sharp. And also a well-known backpacker's companion for gaining altitude. So it's in brain and nervous systems, blood circulation, happy calves, and pituitary support. And if you do happen to have a ginkgo at home and you're interested in making some extracts with it, I wanted to put this particular picture up because you really, the best time for the phytochemistry of this herb to be at its most active stage is as it's transitioning from the green phase to the yellow phase. So see how these leaves are just a little bit green with a yellow hue? That's the perfect time to harvest your ginkgo for making extracts. It makes a great tincture, so extracting it with alcohol.
Very nice. I
Okay,
didn't know that.
yeah, little trick I picked up along the way. And so then,
Oh
of
yeah.
course, we've got rosemary, which rosemary has kind of had this age-old traditional way, traditional slogan of rosemary for remembrance. right? So if you really want to get into why rosemary, I mean, first of all, everyone's growing rosemary in a temperate climate, right?
Yep.
So definitely just go outside and smell it, because even just smelling rosemary, they say, if you're, let's say, studying for a test and smelling rosemary, and then you take rosemary with you for your exam, the recall will be there because of the relationship between the scent and what it was that you were trying to remember. So pretty
Wish I
cool
knew
how
that
that will
a
work.
long time ago.
Yeah, me too. I just love the idea of sending my child to school with lots and lots of
Oh
rosemary,
yeah, I
like
would have
just cramming
loved
it
to
into
do
her
that.
backpack. I will
That's
do
awesome.
that. I
Yeah, good.
promise. So, yeah. All right. So, if we really want to get into the chemistry here, it contains rosmaric acid with 24 different flavonoids, which support healthy inflammatory levels, reduce oxidative stress in the brain and the nervous system. And this compound 1,8-cineol in rosemary supports healthy levels of acetylcholine in the brain. So there's that neurotransmitter piece. So it's really helping. They're finding with all these I don't know that particular study if it's in vitro or in vivo, but they're seeing that it's supporting acetylcholine in the brain. Does pop quiz, do you remember what acetylcholine in the brain is for, Jen? Or do we want to pop back to that slide real quick and see which
I
one it
think
is?
we actually had a request to pop back to that slide, so I'm gonna
Oh,
pass on that.
perfect. It's for learning. No
Learning. I
surprises there.
thought,
So, of
because
course,
I had GABA right above it in my mind. So see, I need to
yeah,
sniff some rosemary before these webinars.
yes. Yeah, exactly, right. I know. Well, we're
Yeah.
not supposed to memorize everything, Jen. It's okay. We're
No, true.
learning too,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So acetylcholine for learning and memory, improved thought and activities, muscle action in the body, and also associated with attention and awakening. So there you have it. Rosemary is specifically good at supporting healthy acetylcholine levels in the brain. And now we have revisited that awesome slide, so you can take your screenshots. All right, that's enough of that.
Yes.
So it's in blood circulation and habitat, and you can grow it yourself, drink it as a tea. I love it as a hair rinse in apple cider
Yes.
vinegar for, itchy or flaky scalp.
Yep.
And yeah, rosemary's the bomb. Okay,
Yes, it
on to the
is.
next one.
All right. And yeah, we're going to talk about, I feel like it's a very broad topic, mental health, but it's a
So
very,
broad.
very popular one right now. I feel like it always should have been at the forefront, but you really want to support a healthy mental state because that does in turn support your overall health. You really want to consume alkaline forming foods like fresh fruits and veggies. You want to stay hydrated. And, we've all dealt with, I think, I don't want to assume for everybody, but, some mental health issues. I know I personally have. I've gone
Mhm.
through that cycle of, that jitteriness, and I know there's certain words I can't say, feeding into that really melancholy state. And so we've all
Also,
personally,
everyone that's ever given birth might be
yes,
tested as well.
yep. I had a lot of, I had issues with postpartum, and I also,
Same.
had resulting jittery, worrying over excessive worrying and coming out of it.
Mhm.
And that's why I personally feel, aside from the diet and staying hydrated, that you really should enjoy activities that are personally productive and rewarding. If you are an extrovert, enjoy, again, going out with people that, are very supportive and enjoy things that you do, but also, lift you up, don't drag you down. If you're more of an introvert, and believe it or not, I am more of an introvert, it's finding some other, quiet time activities. You set that time aside to relax. You make sure you're getting a
Mhm.
lot of sleep, like quality sleep. You want to be positive, your attitudes, everything. If you're having issues with any of these areas, again, take some time to look at where you're at, what you could do, small steps for changes, and then we can explore some imbalances that may be a part of your endocrine and your nervous system, and not just congestively as far as lymphatic or eliminatory, like with the
Mhm.
kidneys or skin or liver. So if you're looking to get started with something to support your mental health before diving into more specifics, again, we'll look at the kidney and bladder daily, or kidneys and bladder daily. So we
Yep.
could probably, yeah. And then lymph drainage gentle mover. If you're new, this is a good one to start with. or even the daily. But if you're seasoned and you would like to work with a super or a moderate, that's perfectly fine. The brain and nervous systems always, make sure you have this as part of your protocol. The Happy Caps is also an excellent formula to help support and strengthen
So good.
these nerve and vascular and endocrine responses within the brain. I know some customers have had a lot of positive feedback for this formula. I know I have enjoyed it as well. And also the Spasm Calm, because it does have some sleep and relaxation effects, really calms you down. I like it for other purposes. I don't have any problem sleeping. That's one thing I don't have an issue with. But it is very relaxing in other ways, like if you have any menstrual cramping or whatnot. But for the scope of mental health, if you have some issues with sleep, consider that Happy Caps can also help you in that department too. But you still need to look at and consider, like Colleen was saying, the chronic fight or flight response, overall inflammation, I can't say that, acidosis in the body, and I'm just catching myself with all these dirty words here.
We just want to say it all.
I just want to say it. But I think you all can gather what we're trying to say. And I know when Colleen's going to go into a couple herbs and bring plasticity here in a sec that will contribute to this protocol. What else do you have to add?
I mean, I'm going to try to do this without saying any buzzwords as well. There's the spectrum of mental health. We can all agree. There's the really upregulated chronic fight or flight. That's kind of what Jen's alluding to, like get your sleep, find a way to kind of be more gentle with yourself and not be as much in like that panic mode. And then there's the other end of the mental health spectrum. Don't forget, there's that super suppressed, super lethargic, hard to get up in the morning. We wouldn't want to suggest that you get more sleep because you're sleeping all the time. Okay, so there's and people can be both, and there's just such a spectrum, the rainbow of ways that we can feel within just those two ends of the spectrum of mental health. And that's not even talking about so many other conditions that arise from mental health. But really, if we just kind of if we're pendulum swinging back and forth from like super upregulated fight or flight to super downregulated, lax, unmotivated, we just need to, the goal here is to kind of bring the pendulum back to the middle, because it's okay to feel those feelings. It's just, we don't want to live in those extremes, right?
Correct.
And Spasm Calm, which we're going to meet some herbs for Spasm Calm right now, that's more for this end. That's more for the like, ooh, I'm really upregulated. I need to calm down. I need to find ways to find my rest and digest and get out of my chronic fight or flight. And then Happy Caps could be for both, definitely. And definitely brain and nervous system is more for folks that are like, I need more blood. I need more movement. I need my body to be more stimulated. I need to waken up, I need to get excited about things again. I need to find my joy. Like that's Happy Caps. That's not so much Spasm Calm over here. Actually, that's not true, because St. John's wort is in Spasm Calm, and we're about to talk about it right now.
Yep. And you brought up a good point, like with the brain and nervous systems. I mean, if you look at iridology and you look at your irises, and even if you take your own photo, look right at the 12 o'clock mark in both eyes, because your head region is in between 11 and 1. Your animation lifeline is just like, I'm holding it up to my forehead, visual, it's right there. So if you have what Dr. Morse and Dr. Jensen refer to as a lacuna or lesion or a radii solaris, a deep line there, or even just heavy congestion, you really work with the brain and nervous systems formula and consider some of these other formulas too, to really inspire. I know I can't take the brain and nervous systems too late in the day, because it does exactly that. It is very inspiring and motivating.
Yeah, absolutely. So that one's for you if you're feeling like you need some inspiration. So St. John's wort, I just had to talk about. I love it. It's in Spasm Calm. And so I can't, we got to speed up, of course, as usual. We're running out of time.
One more.
But hypericin is what makes it red. So if you find St. John's wort, which grows like a weed, I should do an entire webinar just on St. John's wort. It's such a cool herb. It grows like a weed. Here in California, it's illegal to grow because it does grow to abundance where it will cover entire hillsides. But if your cattle eat it or your livestock eat it, you can become photosensitive, and they were finding that livestock were getting lesions from the sun. That's an extreme case if you're just chowing down on fields and fields of St. John's wort. But it is contraindicated to go into the sun if you're taking St. John's wort. but it's just in a small amount in Spasm Calm, and it can really bring joy. So these little red pastils right here on the flower, do you see how they're kind of dark at the end? That's just this really cool red pigment called hypericin. And so when you take this flower and crush it in your finger, you'll know that it's St. John's wort because it stains your fingers red. And see how that red is reaching for the sunlight? It's just getting infused with sunlight. And traditionally, it's believed that St. John's wort brings light into the darkest places inside our soul.
It's
And
just a happy
another
flower.
cool way to tell if it's St. John's, it's a happy flower. It's just full of sunlight and it's bringing sunlight into the body. And if another way to ID this one is if you hold the leaf up to the light, it's perforated so you can see little dots of light shining through. So it's just constant, like it's absorbing as much light as it possibly can at all times. And interestingly enough, it is contraindicated with SSRIs, serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which is an antidepressant. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's interesting that it's saying that. But all that can tell you, if you don't know anything else about this herb, what that's telling you is it has very similar phytoactivity to SSRIs. So take that information and do with it what you will. But please always under the guidance of a trained healthcare professional.
Yes.
I do not recommend anyone just quit a antidepressant anytime soon. So just talk to your healthcare professional, come and get a consult with us, and we can help support you in that process as well. Is there anything else I wanted to say about St. John's wort before I kept going? I think that's, I feel like there's one more thing, but I'm gonna stop. Oh, I wanted to mention with not related to St. John's wort, we have hops, which is we carry it as a single herb extract. Hops is contraindicated with depression, and we're not going to cover that much today because we're not talking about hops today. Next month, we're doing a circadian rhythm. We're going to keep the nervous system going, and we're going to do a whole podcast, or not a podcast, a webinar on circadian rhythm with a guest. Dr. Vincent Esposito is our guest, and he'll be talking about that, and we're going to talk about hops then. So please make sure to register for next month's webinar if you want to learn more about sleep and circadian rhythm. But hops is contraindicated with depression. So if you happen to really like hoppy beer and you also feel like you have that particular mindset, you might want to stop drinking the beer. Or taking the hop supplement or whatever it is for sleep. So just check your supplements and check your beers if you're to make sure that you're not doing that. Okay, I digress. So tangent, hello, tangent train. Okay, so lobelia is incredible. I recommend Spasm Calm for so many things. I love lobelia. I love lobelia for what Jen was talking about, how she had that postpartum experience of, how did you describe it?
It was definitely a cycle of feeding, like really, really high jitteriness, and then went right into melancholy. And, you know, it persisted even for years afterward. But it was intense right after childbirth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that kind of high regulated, you know, even with feeling it in the heart and having a hard time catching your breath, I can't say any of these words, but I can say during acute respiratory spasms and panic, lobelia is actually taken and it's traditionally used to help kind of bring you back into your body. So even after a car accident where you might be like, whoa, your adrenals are going crazy and you just can't calm yourself back down. Lobelia. It is a small dose herb or a low dose herb, 5 drops tops every 15 minutes. We put it in our formulas at a very small amount, so you're okay. But I'm recommending Spasm Calm for all kinds of people who are experiencing that kind of more chronic fight or flight. I need to suppress, I need to calm down, I need to find my rest and digest. Check out Spasm Calm and learn more about lobelia. It's a great herb. And I just wanted to add in here with mental health that brain plasticity is key for mental health. Our brain is highly, highly malleable. But what happens is when you have a thought, and it's just like rolling a snowball down a hill, that snowball is going to take that same path every time, or water, that's, you know, path of least resistance. So we have a thought and we keep reinforcing that thought. And as we're reinforcing that thought, we're greasing that skid in our mind. And so that those neural pathways are just going to constantly be reinforced, and it's going to keep us in the mental health state that we're in, even if we want to get out of it. And so luckily, the good news is our brain is malleable. We have high brain plasticity. So we are able to learn and train our brain to create new neural pathways. So it's definitely going to take some work on your part, but you can make new pathways. You just have to you have to really, find your way, whether it's laugh therapy or meditation, learning about something that you've never learned before, talking to a friend, asking for help. A lot of people refuse to ask for help. Even just the act of asking for help can create a new neural pathway. Forcing yourself to smile and faking it until you make it. Those are just a couple of ideas. I'm sure you'll come up with your own, but really, really train yourself to see how you can, and research brain plasticity, because there's some herbs that we can't really promote on our website that can really help with brain plasticity and kind of creating new neurological pathways. So good luck with that, and on
Yep.
to the next protocol.
I like the laugh therapy and the smiling. I laugh a lot. I smile at everybody.
That's a good
It
one.
is very, very
Smiling
cool.
at people.
Smile
Yes.
and laughing. It's contagious. So share your joy,
Eye
people.
contact.
Even if it's a little bit,
Right.
share it. You don't know what kind of a difference it'll
Yes.
make in someone's day. So, and
Amen.
yeah, so the kind of a good segue into the eye health and sensory health, because wanted to really talk about eye health, but we also wanted to branch into the other senses: sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch, all of them. So remember that one role of the lymph system is to maintain adequate lymph flow, since it contributes to fluid balance throughout the body. This helps prevent edema. Well, I'm not allowed to say that. Swelling, congestion of tissues. If it's not flowing properly, then the tissues in these localized areas where this congestion has accumulated can impact that cellular and tissue function. And this includes senses of sight, taste, smell, hearing, and touch. And back to iridology, between that section of 11 and 1 o'clock, you have a lot of your sensory areas up in the brain where many people have some weaknesses or congestion present. So you want to make sure that you're draining the brain, improving, blood circulation, really supporting the nervous systems of myelin sheaths. But also, what else could you do to not just support the health of your eyes, but also, just your overall senses? And that means a lot of mucus removal for sure. So this is where we suggest, the kidneys and bladder drain really support the kidneys' efforts to filter waste, drain, balance the fluids within the body. And here we have lymph drainage super mover to really help, because it contains those strong herbs, to move lymph and flush obstructions that might be impeding lymph movement. So just work with this one for a month at a time, switch to like a gentle or a moderate or the daily, then you can always go back to it. And also, our senses have really specialized cells and tissues. So for eye issues, you want to work with the eye health. Brain and nervous systems will support all of your senses. You consider your eye health, the eyes have the optic nerve, and you also have the tissues. Think about the retina, the macula. People complain of that gritty dryness in their eyes. All of this pertains to acidosis. This is why blood circulation and healthy joints is also recommended. Maybe you have some, loss of feeling in your fingers or some areas. Maybe you get clogged ears and you can't hear as well. Maybe after getting, a little ill, you notice you can't smell as much. You've got to work on improving blood and lymph flow, draining the brain, improving that communication of your nervous system, as far as those endocrine too, neurotransmitters, and also, that communication between the synapses too. So this is why the protocols outlined with the support of the eye health, the brain and nervous systems, the blood circulation, and the healthy joints. Hopefully I condensed that down to let you get through what you need to do in the last 4 or 5 minutes here. Oh, did you freeze? I think Colleen froze here. Oh, there you are. I can't hear Colleen. If she comes back on, well, we're going to talk about, she's going to talk about eyebright when she comes back on, but you'll notice that this is in the eye health formula. And although I don't speak to the herbs as well as, she does, because this is definitely her specialty. So let's see here. Eyebright's a long-term tonic herb, like nettle, for building up a healthy histamine response, using using antioxidants to fortify the immune system.
I'm back.
Are you back? Woohoo! Okay, I got through a little bit. So go
I
for it.
have
I'll let
no
you
idea.
take
I
it
think it
over.
just went silent, but then also everything was still going on my end. I didn't get any indication of an issue, so I'm very confused. Okay,
Okay, go
yeah,
for it.
on to the herbs. So
Yes.
eyebright is essentially, it's called eyebright, but what it's really doing is it's working with the tissues of the sinuses and draining congestion. So we call it eyebright. It helps with healthy eyes. It's got some great like iridoid glycosides and flavonoids, which are antioxidant rich, which can help with eye health as well. But yeah, that's kind of what's funny about it is that mechanism of action is really through the sinuses and helping to clear the eyes up that way. And then turmeric, we've talked about before. We love it. It's in healthy joints. Jen and I recommend it in consults all the time because of all the really great implications for the curcuminoids in turmeric, and how they're really great for supporting healthy inflammatory responses and levels. And then they also help with the activity of the immune cells, especially the T and the B cells and the macrophages and the natural killer cells. So it's really great for general immunity. And don't forget about our lung detox formula, which is really great for expectoration and getting the gunk out, as well. And fire cider is another great one that
Yes.
we have to kind of help kind of loosen up, like a mucolytic, to loosen things up and get them out.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
you're still talking to me, so that means I'm still here. Hooray.
You are still here. Yes, so we're just going to dive into some additional therapeutics. I got some quick flower essences and a couple of things you want to go over, correct?
We will be going real quick through these because we are at time pretty much here. So I think I'll just really do flower essences and then we'll hop to the slide with the discount codes. How's that sound, Jen?
Yeah, that works.
We talked a lot about rest and digest, so I think we're good on that. Okay, so flower essences, here's all the different companies that you can get your flower essences from. Bach was really the first one to create or monetize, we should say, flower essences. I'm sure they were around for centuries before then, but really what we're finding with flower medicine and flower energy and what's happening with flower essences is we're taking water, which is totally pure and really good at emoting or taking on the energy of other things, and you're placing the flowers on the surface of the water, and that vibration or fingerprint of the flower is imprinting into the water, and then you're taking in that water. It's also homeopathic. It's kind of in the same line as homeopathy because it's the lower the dose, or the more you can break apart your flower essence extract, the stronger it becomes, more or less. We might talk about this more next month as well. But we have a blog coming out about flower essences also,
Yes,
so
I
keep
look
an eye
forward
out
to
for
it.
that. But what flower essences are doing is they're really working on the energetic body and the emotional body. So it's not about how our physical illness or how our body is physically manifesting how we're feeling. It's more about really specific emotional states, not just I don't feel good. It's really honing in on not only just how you feel and how you relate to others, but also some potential ancestral trauma. And so it's really good and subtle, and it's great for children and animals. And so we're talking about this from kind of a nervous system support standpoint, emotional health, and also mental health as well. So check out flower
Yes.
essences. Again, another one to do a deep dive into. Highly recommend it.
Yes.
And I know Dr. Morse has recommended flower essences in the past. I believe Fox Mountain is the company that he's
Yes.
recommended to folks before.
Yep.
Yarrow is one of the best known flower essences, and it's specifically for healthy boundaries, right? So putting up those boundaries, if you're a sensitive person, or if you find that you're taking on the emotional states of others, or impacted by how other people feel, Yarrow can really put up some really healthy walls and boundaries between you and others. I like that one a
Yep.
lot.
Moonshine Yarrow was one of his regular ones he would recommend.
There
So,
you
yep,
go.
I liked
Yep,
that one too.
makes sense. Yeah, I think everyone could use, like, put it in the water supply, essentially. We all could
Yep.
use a little support
Sure.
in that way.
Absolutely.
We can all be a little bit nicer to each other, more smiling,
Yeah.
more eye contact. Okay, so we made it to the end of another fun webinar. Thank you, Jen.
Woo.
Always a
Yes,
blast.
absolutely.
Okay, you've
And
got this code, Nerve Soothe 20, that will last until Friday evening at 11:59 p.m. So go and get these formulas. We actually have an entire page devoted to this collection, which I actually think I can grab for you and put in the chat. One second.
oh, awesome.
Jen, if you have anything else to say.
Just another nervous system support while she gets this page ready for you, or the link for the chat. Go ahead, and when you're on the website, besides looking ahead at the future webinars we have scheduled, but also past webinars to just catch up if you haven't had the chance, go to the Learn tab as well for our handouts and look up the neurolymphatic points to just help either stimulate or help relax any particular organs or glands that might need some attention. All right, so you can find that on the website under the Learn tab as well. You're so funny.
Okay. I know, I don't have it's like this whole setup I have to do in order to do these presentations. It's not my normal workspace. Anyway, okay, so I just sent you all the chat in the chat. Check it out. There's the link there, and that'll take you to the page that has all of these formulas listed, and then just make sure to add that code at checkout for 20% off. And yes, we've really loved hanging out with you today. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy summer day to hang out with us and talk about the nervous system. Definitely go register for the circadian rhythm webinar coming up next month with Dr. Vincent Esposito, and we will see you all soon. Thank you, Jen.
Yep. Thanks, Colleen. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.